Your personal brand isn't just a logo, a tagline, or a clever marketing hook. It's who you are at your core. It's how you think, it's how you make decisions, and it's how you show up in the world, both personally and professionally. And building a brand isn't just about a strategy, it's about alignment. And that requires something much deeper: self-awareness, resilience, and the willingness to grow and evolve. Now, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a guru, but I am a builder. I've built 2 very successful businesses, worked through failure, I faced my own demons, and I'm still in the process. I'm still refining, I'm still evolving. So each week on the Branding Lab, I'm going to break down the lessons, the insights, and raw truths that shape not just great businesses, but great leaders. In this roughly 10 to 15 minute monologue, I'm going to share the stories and the insights of my own experience and the deep conversations with CEOs, founders, and thought leaders from all over the world. We're going to uncover the patterns, the decisions, and the shifts that separate those who grow from those who stay stuck. Because here's the honest truth: if you're not evolving, neither is your brand. So let's get into it. Today, I want to dig into an idea that is a little bit of a deviation from our normal show format. And it's an idea that I've been working on for a little while and sort of trying to ferment into a philosophical and pragmatic approach to how I run my business. And I kind of happened into it because I just wasn't happy with the existing models that experts suggest everyone has to follow. And this concept centers around and challenges the traditional way we think about niching down or business niches. And there's a lot of talk everywhere you go on social media, you go on LinkedIn, Instagram, and every workshop that you go to. And I just came back from a fantastic, prolific week-long retreat with Baby Bathwater. And if you haven't heard of them before, please check them out. It's a purpose-driven group of CEOs that come together for roughly a week on an isolated area and spend the week working together, collaborating, engaging socially, getting to know each other, and workshops, and all just sorts of like mind-blowing activities and networking. And so anyhow, in one of the sessions, they asked a question that was sort of like a hypothetical future state. What are the people that you inspire doing in their business? And then the second part of that was, what are you not doing, or what are you doing? And one of the pieces that I wrote on this list, and it's not a concept I've ever heard before, but I started thinking about some of the most prolific brands that I really admire. And I'll just name some of the more popular ones to name a few. Apple, obviously, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Tony Robbins, we'll talk about that in a second. And then some of the work that I'm doing for my clients and sort of the crossover and the relatability. And anyhow, it centers around this concept of niching and narrowing down and going all in on this one sort of concept or idea that you sell. And there's a lot of value in that focus. There's a lot of value in focusing in on one thing. But, and here's a big but, what if your work, what if your purpose, what if your impact goes beyond these neat little boxes? What if instead of fitting into a niche, you decided to become the niche? Let me repeat that. Instead of fitting into a niche, or AKA niching down, what if you decided to become the niche itself? And this approach has been core to my journey. Before I continue on, I just want to introduce myself for those of you who might be new to the show. I'm Devo. I am the brand storyteller, and my focus hasn't always been about fitting into one industry or one niche. Instead, I've created something unique, a space where I am the niche, where people come to me not just for what I offer, but more specifically for my approach, my perspective, my insights, my experience. And I want to share that with you today. So let's dive into what this concept really means and why it might resonate with those of you who feel restricted, who feel limited by the idea of narrowing down into something. Okay. All right. So here's the core concept of becoming the niche. What does this really mean to you? Because those are really fancy words. And for those of you who might hear them for the first time, they're sort of like, okay, sounds good, but what does it mean? All right. For me, becoming the niche isn't about conforming. That's really been one of my core philosophies throughout my life. It's about building a brand that's an extension of who you are and attracting people who resonate with your energy, your perspective, your insights. And when you embody this niche, when you embody your niche, people come to you rather than you constantly chasing them. And that's a good thing for anybody who's an entrepreneur, anyone who is in business. So they come to you because they connect with you on a deeper, more emotional, heartfelt level. And it's not just for a specific solution, it's for your specifically unique approach and philosophies and how you see the world and how you see business. For example, I work with clients, and when we're doing sort of philosophical work, we dive into more than just what branding is or what marketing is for their business. We're really trying to pull back the covers and uncover what their unique qualities, philosophies, and story are, and help them find what makes them truly unique, truly distinct, and what problem they uniquely solve. It's really deep. It's a transformative process that it's holistic, it's part pragmatic, it's part intuition, it's part psychology, and it can't be confined to a single industry label. Because when you do that, you're creating an alignment that's hard to replicate elsewhere. And I'm going to talk about that why. When I say not industry specific or not industry agnostic, my clients include CEOs, creatives, artists, coaches, health practitioners, yogis, chiropractors, businesses that want to do more than just sell. They want to create a lasting impact, a lasting legacy. And they want to be able to tell their story because their story matters to them and is part of their journey. And part of their journey has created the solution they're now trying to offer you. So it worked for them. They would now want to share it with you. So this idea of becoming the niche, it really speaks to the desire to remain agile and intuitive and adaptable. And these are qualities that don't really fit into traditional categories of ROI and KPI, et cetera, et cetera. And if you think that I'm just sort of like talking smog here, think about Apple. Apple didn't just compete within existing tech categories. They actually defined their own category. They created their own niche. They built their company, their brand around the concept of innovation, simplicity, design, user experience. And as Seth Godin, one of my authors before he sort of went a bit corporate says, you can't be seen until you learn to see. And when you become the niche, you're not just another player in the game. You're defining a brand new game altogether. And people are drawn to our brand. Sorry, got tongue twisted there. People are really drawn to brands that feel real to them. There is a competitive ass marketplace out there. There are a lot of businesses who do the exact same thing as you do. And so it's really important to find the people that are actually drawn to who you are and what you do and the realness and the genuineness or the authenticity, that's an overused word, that makes you who you are, because this resonates with people. This tells your journey. This shares your vision. This shares your philosophies. This shares your values. And other people share those same things. And that's where experiences are born. That's where value is added. That's where stories are told. That's where business is made. That's where relationships are forged. And this is what becoming the niche accomplishes. It allows you to connect with people on a level that's hard to achieve with just a traditional niching down. Imagine walking into a room and knowing exactly why you're there and what you offer and what you do and why you do it and how you do it and what problem do you uniquely solve. That's what becoming the niche can do for you. It's an approach that's deeply fulfilling and creates an emotional resonance that traditional niching can't provide. And again, I'm going to go into this in a minute. I'm not to say that you shouldn't be niching down, because there is a time and a place, and there are people that should and shouldn't niche down. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay. How do you sort of figure out what this becoming the niche looks like? Well, I think the first part of it for me, and I kind of stumbled into this by accident, centered around a journey of self discovery. And to become the niche, you have to know yourself and your values and your philosophies and what do you believe in. You have to understand what motivates you, what drives you, who you want to work with, what type of people you resonate with. And in my brand discovery process that I take all of my clients through, I guide them through a really rigorous 2 day workshop to really uncover their superpowers and their philosophies and their core values and letting their brand sort of emerge from a piece of genuine authenticity rather than trying to mold them to fit sort of a market slot, right? So you may be a dentist or you may be a chiropractor or you may be a coach, whatever it is, but there's something about why you got into business. There is something that you got into to solve for other people. There's some value that you wanted to share. And so we're not trying to take all of that and like reverse engineer it and mold it and cut off of it and slice off of it and put you into a specific slot. We're saying, let's take all of you and your super glory, powerful self, and let's clearly define what that is. And let's create that as the value proposition because that's what's going to draw people to you. So think about what your values are, right? Are your values clear enough that someone would know if they're aligned with you immediately in a conversation or a social media post or a video you put out on YouTube? Because if you're not, you need to work on that. Because it's this self-knowledge, this understanding, this self-awareness of who you are and what you do and why you do it and your philosophies and your values and your beliefs. It's this self-knowledge that becomes the foundation for building your brand that is uniquely you. So instead of focusing on trends or market molds or social media followers, I choose to build my space around the impact that I want to create. And I want to encourage you to think about what is your unique position in the world? What do you do differently than anyone else? What do you truly believe? And this is something that wouldn't be possible if you were trying to fit into everyone else's market gaps, right? You have to think about who you are and what you do and what makes you uniquely you. I think Einstein said this, just be yourself, man. Everyone else is already taken. And it's this kind of brand building, this fluidity, this purpose driven, this North Star based that allows for you to be flexible and nimble and ultimately give you the sustenance and longevity you need to stay in business because it sort of enables you to meet people where they are. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And I've worked with clients who after discovering their core values, their philosophies and their beliefs, they were able to redefine their entire business based around the value proposition, the problem that they solve. And they were able to create a brand that's aligned with a deeper purpose and meaning. And let me tell you, the loyalty and the engagement and the resonance factor that they get from their audience is unlike anything that you would achieve through conventional niching down. And I'm not to say that you don't have great customers if you're niche into a very specific focus. I just want to keep repeating that because this sort of model isn't necessarily for everybody, right? And I think you know who you are. A powerful part of becoming the niche is releasing the need for comparison. And this is something I struggled with early on because I kind of fell into this industry. It wasn't something that I sought out. I kind of found that I was very carefully curating a very specific roadmap to where I am today. And in the process of doing that, I started to realize that I was looking at, because I'm not a branding PhD expert with a master's in marketing or whatever else, I found myself thinking and second guessing myself saying, wait, maybe I'm not that person. Maybe I don't know the answers. Maybe I have imposter syndrome. So I started looking at other experts and potentially adapting myself to their version of the world. And that just doesn't work for me. It's not going to work for you. The path you're carving is your own, and you have to own that piece. What you are creating is yours and yours alone. And it's if you're going to build this business, you have a moral obligation, a conscionable obligation to share that with other people. And it might be uncharted territory, so it's a bit scary. But you have to look at it from the perspective of you're not comparing or competing, you're building something that people can't find anywhere else because you are you. And so that's why I don't focus on on competition or comparisonitis anymore. I think I'm really focused on creating something that feels like a true expression of who I am. And sometimes that gets me into trouble because I'm a bit candid about stuff. And it sometimes takes people by surprise because they're like, wait, what did you just say? What was that? And so, but I just want to encourage you to just carry forward, step into that space because what it does is it's going to attract the right people naturally, the people that you really want to connect with. So reflect on what makes you you, right? Spend some time reflecting on your journey and your values and your inspirations and your philosophies and your aspirations and what experiences shape what you do. Tell those stories because that's going to become the foundation of becoming the niche. Think about all of the experiences and all of the context and all the layers after layers after layer of memories and stories and values and everything that you've done that has brought you to this point today that you believe in your solution. And what is it going to solve for your audience? And when you do that, stop trying to fit into a mold. Because if niching down feels limiting, you have to find a way to reverse it. My camera keeps going in and out, and I'm really getting tired of this. So I'm gonna niche down on this camera in a second and kick its ass. But if niching down feels limiting to you, and it probably will, because I get this feedback all the time, you need to reverse it. Focus on what drives you, what motivates you, what feels natural, and let that be the core of your brand. Create alignment with your values, create alignment with your philosophies, with your beliefs. Test them out, see how the market feels with them, and the right people will follow you. And then build with purpose over profit. I understand we all have to make money, right? I have to make money to pay the bills just like you do. But my argument centers around that shouldn't be your primary focus because purpose driven work has longevity. It resonates, it builds loyalty, and it allows you to be nimble and adaptive because you're asking yourself in every situation, am I creating something that's going to matter beyond making a profit? Because if I am, I'm solving other people's problems. And in the process of doing so, that's going to self replicate over time. And other people are going to get this message and they're going to be like, dude, that's the guy I want to connect with. That's the dude I want to do business with because he gets me. He understands me. He draws my shit out of me and turns it around and says, this gives me purpose. This gives me North Star. This gives me values. So, really want you to consider those three things. Reflect on what you do. Who are you? What makes you you? What makes you uniquely you? Better to the point. Stop trying to fit a mold. Understand what value you offer and kind of create something around that and build with purpose over profit. I want you to journal about that today. What does that mean to you? There's a really favorite quote I have. It says, it's by historian Nietzsche, and he said, history is full of examples of those who broke molds to create their own niches. One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. I freaking love that quote. Individually, even chaos can be the birthplace of something truly unique. Let me say that again. History is full of examples of those who broke molds to create their own niches. One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. Individually, even chaos can be the birthplace of something truly unique. I want you to consider that today. And there's going to be a lot of counterpoints and objections to what I'm saying. Niching down brings clarity and focus for your audience. Okay, great. It does. In a very highly competitive product based field, absolutely. Niching down creates clarity. But for value driven experts like me or coaches who offer complex, multi dimensional services, becoming the niche is also about clarity. Clients looking for transformation or insights, they're seeking a unique personality and approach to doing things, not just a service category, not just fitting into a box. By embodying the niche, you're providing clarity on who you are and the depth that you bring. Objection number two. Specializing in a niche builds expertise and authority in that area. Yeah, 100%. Specialization does build authority, but it can also narrow the brand's adaptability. For experts who pull from diverse knowledge banks, Branding, strategy, storytelling. Authority comes from synthesizing insights across industries and specific fields. When you are the niche, your authority is connecting ideas and creating unique solutions that wouldn't exist otherwise in a narrow category. What's another objection I've heard in this concept? Scaling becomes very difficult without a niche. Okay, that's technically true. It applies to high volume businesses for sure. But for service providers who are very boutique like me with a very high touch offering, becoming the niche actually supports scaling. Growth happens organically because I'm focusing on doing and offering something distinctive so that it attracts the right clients without needing to fit into a box. So, does that make sense? Anyhow, I'm rambling, I think, at this point, but becoming the niche isn't about ignoring the rules of business. It's not. And I'm not saying that it does. It's about recognizing when the rules don't fit. It's about honoring your unique value, building a space where clients can find something that they can't get anywhere freaking else. So if you're tired of trying to fit into a category, maybe you're just not meant to. Think about that. Maybe you're meant to create your own category, and that's what becoming the niche is. Thank you for listening. If this resonates with you, please comment below. You can disagree with me. I would love to hear your feedback and your insights because ultimately that's how we grow, right? Meeting me where I am and me meeting where you are and finding your value and your insights, considering it, see if it applies for me and adopting it or adapting it. Thank you for following. Thank you for listening. I know you have choices when it comes to podcasts. Please subscribe. Please like, and please share this with somebody who might be interested in hearing some of these types of insights. Thank you.